An embedded board array is a primitive design object. It allows you to create a PCB panel as part of your PCB design project. This is also known as panelization. In the new Altium Designer 21, embedded board arrays can now be placed at any angle within a PCB fabrication panel, which offers improved flexibility in how unusually shaped PCBs can be arranged to maximize the available board panel real estate.